Hello again. It's been a little while. So, since my last video, my entire life has changed and the entire world has changed. And for the greatest good of all, in my opinion. But that's not the topic of today's video. What I have been called to talk about is something that Michael Singer, in his book The Surrender Experiment, calls the voice. And I think that this is, when we talk about awakening to reality, we talk about waking up, we can think about that in terms of realizing that so much of what we've been told in our lives isn't true. That is a big part of it. But I think this understanding is the fundamental thing about waking up to what we really are. It's very simple. The voice that's in your head that talks all the time is not you. Or you are not the voice, is another way to think about it. And to anyone that has taken some time to meditate, this becomes very obvious. And what I mean by meditate is simply sitting still and in silence and listening to the voice in your head talking, because it will just keep talking about all kinds of stuff. Especially for anyone that hasn't meditated, that hasn't worked on a practice of stillness, it will talk a lot, incessantly. And what you will see if you take some time to just sit there, close your eyes, listen, the voice in your head will probably be talking. Mine tends to be silent, pretty silent at this point in time in my life, but it's not always. But what you'll see is that the voice talks about the things it's worried about, the problems in your life, what your sister, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend did, who you're mad at, worries, how you're going to pay the bills, whatever, right? It's saying all this crap. Now, that's not you. That is this construct. We can call it the ego, we can call it the voice, we can call it any number of things, but it is a construct that exists in your head. It's like a little person inside you with all these beliefs in your brain, exists in your brain. And what you are, clearly, is the thing listening to that thing talking, right? And so we call that observing, which is why we refer to what we are as the observer. We observe reality, we observe the voice in our heads, we observe, everything, experience reality. And another way you can begin to understand this is if you, and this can take some practice, but if you sit with the voice speaking in your head, you'll find that it is the location of it, and you can feel this if you just sit there and listen to it. You'll feel where it is, and you'll feel that it is somewhere, in the brain, right, in your head. And if you're observing that space in your head talking, and you feel into where the observer is sitting as it does that, where you are, you'll find that you are like up and behind. I don't know if that's visible, but I got my armpit. Up and behind your head is where you sit. That's the seat of you, which is, I think we can think of it as the crown chakra, maybe. But the thing that we are, the soul, consciousness, whatever, it doesn't even exist inside our bodies. It is outside and behind and above, and it is observing all of this whole thing. And so we go through through our life, thinking that we are this voice in our heads. And often we will speak as that voice. All the angry, nasty shit we say to other people and to ourselves, it's the voice talking. So what is it? Where did it come from? Why is it there? It is the collection. This is my understanding. What has dropped in and been downloaded and given to me about it is that it is this collection of all the things we've been told, of all the inputs essentially that we've taken in our life from other people via our parents, school, friends, television, commercials, right? The whole spectrum of everything that's been told to us, because words are incredibly powerful and they have an impact. I think they can have much more of an impact than physical events even. You know, you can be, let's say, spanked as a child, as many of us were in this generation. You can be spanked as a child, have physical violence inflicted upon you, and that can be something that doesn't really have a big impact on your life. It can for some people, especially more severe physical violence, of course. But let's just take spanking, right? Whereas your parent can say something to you like, money doesn't grow on trees, and that will be implanted in your mind, in your, not your consciousness, but into the voice, and will be something that you repeat to yourself for your entire life, potentially. This limiting belief that was spoken to you as a child by a parent, by another person, doesn't even matter who said it, because you cannot even take things seriously at the time they're said to you, but they are still implanted in this gray matter. They're still there. They still sink into your subconscious and work on you through your whole life. And so that idea, whereas they could say, you will always have all the money you need. That's just a different perspective on life. One that is equally valid and true. It's a belief that is empowering as opposed to disempowering. And the voice will repeat whatever it's told, which is why we do affirmations, which is why we clear out all this old programming. And I think what the voice really is, you can think of it as this little person that lives inside of you in this collection of things, but I think it's more than that, or it's more helpful than that, I would say. I think what it really is a warning system telling you the limiting beliefs that you hold, the things that are holding you back and are not serving you. Because what happens is you will get triggered, and what that is, something will happen in life, right? And you'll get triggered. And the voice will start talking about, so-and-so should not be this way. Often is the kind of thing it will say. And your body will react negatively to that. It will say, no, this is not good. This thought that I'm having, this is the way I believe that it happens. This thought that you're having is not good for you, is what your body's saying when you feel bad. Whenever you feel bad, it's because you had a thought that was incorrect, that you don't need to have a belief. So such and such, or so-and-so, is doing something they shouldn't be doing. Right? Your brain's saying this all the time. But it's not true. Because they're doing exactly what they should be doing, and you have no idea what they should be doing. Generally, especially when dealing with other adults. That's the case. That's the truth. You can't change another person. You don't really know what they should be doing. And you barely know what you should be doing. This is the truth about how reality actually operates and what's true for us. And if you can let go of this belief that things should be a certain way, this person should be different, my life would be better if they were different, which is all bullshit. That's all bullshit. Right? If you can let go of that belief, then your life becomes better very quickly. So whatever the mind is talking about generally is it's giving you information about things that aren't serving you anymore, that have been input into your system. Like, I don't want to say the words that are disempowering because I do not associate with them personally. So I don't say them. I'm not going to say them to you. So I will say opposite things that would be good to have in your mind. Like, Everything that happens is in purpose and is a lesson and is for the greatest good of everyone involved. Everything that happens. You can see yourself as a victim of external circumstances, or you can realize that everything is working for your benefit, and it's all that it's doing, all these things that you're upset about, is just showing you what's inside you that you don't need anymore. And the voice can be a very good resource instead of an enemy, instead of a nemesis, because we can get into the trap, I think, of labeling it as the ego and saying that we're just going to ignore it, that it is a negative impact in our lives. That's not true. It is a tool that's here to serve us and help us, just like everything else is. Everything that happens is. And so I think that the journey begins really in seeing that you're not the voice, because that changes everything. You can sit there and listen to it being afraid, complaining, whatever it's doing, and say, okay, that's not me. I don't need to listen to your excuses, your complaints, your victimhood, your whatever it's doing. And you can start rewiring and letting go of rewiring the brain and what it says, and letting go of the various limiting beliefs that are in there, because we're chock full of them. This is the whole paradigm built on limiting beliefs, right? On control, on fear, on scarcity, none of which is true. None of it's true. So, yeah, that's the voice. So my recommendation is, if you're like, this is bullshit, of course I am the voice in my head, is to sit with that voice and see how it just runs on autopilot. It just goes by itself. It's really not you. You're the one watching it. You're observing it, you're hearing it, and it just will talk incessantly about things. And the more you observe it, the more you will begin to see the separation between you and between it, and that you're not the same thing. And then all the doors open to complete transformation of your life and the way you interact with yourself and the world. The world is your oyster, as they say, and it always was. You just didn't know or remember that it was. So you have awoken at that point to a whole different reality where you're not the voice in your head. That changes everything. And this isn't new information for me. I've been aware of this for a long time. I just love the way it was described in the Surrender Experiment. So I recommend reading that too. I like the idea of the voice and that way of characterizing it. I think it's very powerful, very profound, very easy to understand and grasp. I had no idea that was going to be in that book. It was a surprise for me, a delightful surprise. So that's what his Surrender Experiment's all about, realizing that he's not the voice and that he can surrender to life, and that magic shit happens when you do, which is also available to all of us. So I don't know if I'm making more of these kinds of videos. I think I'm gonna make some videos of me playing games for some reason, because I'm in surrender to what's showing up, and I'm not. It's loud down here. To work on that. I'm not letting the voice dictate my life. This studio space needs some work. Anyway, yeah. I think I'm complete. So, see you next time, whatever it looks like. Love you. Bye.